So great for my city, I'm the realest one that's repping. Oh my God, if I die, I'm a legend.
Hey y'all, this your girl Shaq once again from Illusions magazine. Here we have in the building, all the way to my far right is my ride or die,
Chef Mickey in the building. How's everybody doing?
and off to my middle we have Mr. Shawn Bayonne, Midas Touch, author, Unchained Intimacy. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, everybody. How's it going out there?
So we're going to be talking about relationships. You know, we have Unchained Intimacy in the building, and that's about relationships. So we want to hear his side, his perspective. And I'm going to let him go just a tad bit before we get all in on him. Okay?
Okay, I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
So tell us a little bit more about this Unchained Intimacy and what makes you the expert to write about it.
Ooh.
Okay. So first, I don't claim to be an expert at anything. I just I speak what I know. So I'm not a pastor. I'm a poet.
Oh, he knows something.
And the way I look at it is, you know, there's certain things in life that have common denominators to them, and when you extract all of the foolishness and selfishness and everything out of it, you find certain things hold true. And that's what I try to get down to in my book. So when I speak on that aspect.
Give us an example.
Reciprocity. You can't have a healthy, loving, progressive relationship without reciprocity. I mean, it's not the see-all, end-all, but it definitely is a major element. So,
And for those of us that didn't go to college, I'm not talking about myself, but you know, for those that don't know what reciprocity means, are you going to break it down just a little bit more?
Just a little bit more.
it is you give, I give.
Okay.
And some people say you shouldn't do things with the expectation of getting something back. And that will hold true to a certain extent. So you don't want to give so much of yourself in a relationship and you never get anything back. So, but no, I rub your feet today.
So when should I break loose? When should I break loose? If I don't cook you dinner 5 days in a row, should I be waiting for dinner? Should it come back a different way?
It's all about so in that aspect, you're making it a little more logistical or getting into semantics about it. So what does that person do for you? So maybe that person isn't a cook, or maybe they don't have.
So right, if
the
they're
time of day
not a
to
cook.
So then you have that discussion with them about it. Say, well, hey, look, I do all the cooking, but I love to cook, and I'll be the first one in the kitchen to cook.
Mm-hmm.
I can outcook most women, but it doesn't mean that she has to cook for me all the time.
Listen, so you Shaq, did you hear this?
I can outcook most women.
Did you hear this mess right now? I'm not saying that that's what I went to school for, because it is. I'm just saying.
I said most women.
You
But
said
you don't fall into most.
I don't fall into that most.
You don't fall into
I'm
that
the
category.
exception to every rule. You still haven't said, if I'm doing the cooking, what you're going to do as the man. What are you bringing to the table?
What are you bringing to the table?
That's specific to each man, though. So if he doesn't cook, does he take care of all of the necessities around the house? Is he paying most, if not all, of the bills?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a income imbalance, is he at least contributing to it? Does he make sure that things around the house get fixed or repaired? So if you're making it home every day and making it a point to cook meals for him, even though you still have a job, when the oil needs changing on your car, does he go ahead and take care of that for
I
you?
take
so
it
that you
to
don't have
Mercedes Benz.
Yes. But does he drive? But does he drive it for you so that you don't have to do
Thanks,
it?
baby.
That day, does he drive you to work?
I take it to Mercedes Benz, and by I mean yes, I take it to Mercedes Benz.
So how many women have a Mercedes Benz?
Lots of women
have Mercedes.
And out of all the women that have Mercedes Benz, that can take it to Mercedes Benz. How many?
If you driving a
women?
Mercedes, you can't afford to take it to Mercedes to get it done. Stop driving it.
Good point.
I'll drink to that.
Good point. But for those ladies who don't drive a Mercedes, who may be driving a car that they've had 5 or 6 years, or maybe bought a used car or things like that, and they don't drive to Mercedes, to have their oil changed.
They should be looking for their man. What if their man doesn't know how to change oil?
But he should drive it to wherever it is that gets the oil changed. Exactly.
Okay.
It's balancing, but you have to talk to find out what that balance is.
It is a balance. And I remember my pastor once saying that when he was courting his wife father said to him, if you cannot do what I'm already doing for my daughter, leave her alone.
Yeah.
So in that regard, what is he referring to? Because my daddy, God rest his soul, when he was alive, he did everything for me. And by everything, I mean everything.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So now you're just speaking about a lifestyle that you're accustomed to. So if a man wants to come into your life, he should be adding something to your life, not taking something from it.
Right.
It's all about enrichment.
But it's also biblical.
Even more so, you just proved my point.
It's also biblical. But let's get to the point in relationships where men are so different now. And it's annoying.
And it's noticeable. And I'm not
And
just talking about
very
skinny
noticeable.
jeans, which are made for women and should only be worn by skinny women at that.
No skinny jeans.
I know.
No skinny jeans. All
I
right, no
love
skinny
how
jeans.
you have on clothes that fit. They're above your waist. I don't want to see your underwear. You don't want to see mine. We don't know each other like that intimately.
That's what I'm about to
Intimate
say.
wear is for intimate times, not the general public. But okay, that's one of my
And
pet
you look
peeves.
good and presentable. So when you show up, you're actually showing up. But let's get to the point where men are different. And oftentimes I've said this on multiple occasions. I remember the younger me. I remember the younger me that used to sit home and wait on that phone call and that phone number ring. You remember when you had the rotary phone and the push button, your mom could actually put a lock on it? So you can only receive the calls, so I didn't call him.
Didn't have a cordless phone.
Wasn't cordless. You know, I remember not going out because
Yeah,
he
that phone in the
promised.
kitchen with that really long cord.
You done stretched it all the way
Wait,
out.
The one
all the way
always
upstairs
gets-
Trying to hide in the pantry closet to talk. She coming in the kitchen. Who you on the phone with?
So
So she pick up the other extension. Was like, didn't I tell you get off this phone?
I remember those days, and I remember
Do you remember?
chasing him while I stood still.
Do you remember getting
remember
cursed
that.
out
That
after
was
she
me. I
picked up
never chased
the
anybody.
after she picked up the
That's
extension and said,
no
didn't I tell
bueno.
you get off this phone and go to bed? And you
After.
say okay, and then it sounds like she hung up and you was like, dang, she get on my nerves. I hear you.
But but times are different now.
Definitely. There's so many different factors and dynamics that came into play to that, so you can't really point the finger at one of them. But I would say the biggest one is the village is gone. It takes a village to raise a child.
I agree with that.
And the village is gone. That village was comprised of elders, family members, mothers and fathers in the house. Even if they would fight like cats and dogs, there still was cohesion. And a child couldn't just be wayward because even if you were on the other side of the block in your neighborhood, if that side of the block was a block that, or a spot that you weren't supposed to be in, someone on that side knew your mom or dad and knew you weren't supposed to be over there. So then that same rotary phone was ringing, telling them like, Susan, I think this your boy over here on this side, you know, you need to come check him. And so who's on the corner honking the horn of a deuce and a quarter talking about, get your car, come on home. You know.
Well, but it still doesn't explain to me why men are different now in that regard.
What has happened?
What has happened?
You're a man. What has happened that you've seen? Because men are no longer in the home. They're no longer taking responsibility. They're taking the shortcut. They land down with people they have no intention of helping out in the future, much less 9 months later when, bam, I got a baby. Oh, let's plant this seed together. And then she's 7 months pregnant, like, let's get the crib. And he like, I don't even know if that's my baby. Why are men so scandalous now? So when you can let me know why men are so scandalous.
Again, it goes back to, so the village made so much more possible.
Okay.
There were examples that were to be set.
Okay.
You know, so even back in the day, when a couple didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have a lot, there still was a unified effort and movement to make that home successful. So the young man saw this man, whether it was his biological father or not, he saw a man get up and go to work every day, come home and lay the proverbial check on the table so that, you know, the mom can do what she needs to do with it for the house first. School was first, responsibility was first, chores were first. Looking at how the two of them interacted together became first. So when they argued, they didn't argue in front of the children. They went behind closed doors. When they came out, they were a unified, you know, command or decision that was made, and it was passed down.
That's our generation.
That is our generation.
That's, you know, people over 35. That's our generation of parents that modeled that for us. So for our children, where's the breakdown? Because if we saw it modeled, why aren't the men still following the model that they saw? That is my question.
So you do have men that do follow that model, right? But you have, it's also, I mean, look at the society that we live in. Fahrenheit 451 described a dystopian society where everybody wanted everything right away, which is what we live in now. So you want the answer to something you don't read, you go to Wikipedia, you Google it. You don't learn, you don't get any sort of teaching, any culture. It's where's the next party? Where's the next sale? What's the car I need to have to attract women? So it's like, what heels do I need to wear to be validated among women? So our focus has shifted because in that area, in that era where we had families who were together, you had some that weren't. You take the people of the 70s who were just going out doing disco, smoking weed and doing pills and getting high and creating babies, and then at the end of the day placing the name of the father of the baby on the best prospect. And then you had those fathers who knew they were there.
You still have that today.
Exactly.
I can't say that stopped in the 70s.
No, it didn't stop, but that's kind of where it started. So.
That's where what's his name, Murray Povich, got his little...
Maury Povich.
Okay, you are the baby daddy. Oh, it's a lie. You know, it's a lie. She done brought 10 guys on there.
Ignorance.
Exactly.
On ignorance.
So when you look at the 60s and the 70s, you had people in the U.S. who were building homes, and you had people who were out there just partying. And for the ones who built homes and showed children how it's supposed to be, most of them, you can still find them today, and they still have a good frame of mind concerning family, marriage, and relationships. But the ones who were born into the homes where mom and dad was just out drinking and getting high and whatever, I mean, that was a large number of people. That was a large percentage. And they procreated just like everybody else. And it perpetuated. And once you start that, you know, that domino of there's no daddy in this house, so when boys grow up, they don't really know how to be daddy, so there's no daddy in the house of their children and their children. And then they're out in the world. So at what age did you have a talk about sex?
You mean with my parents?
Yes.
Probably, I don't know, because we had health class back in. It wasn't even like it was necessary.
She said two words. Health class. What is health class or sex education for children now? Instagram, Twitter,
it's so
YouTube.
Horrible.
And so
horrible.
I saw a 10-year-old. I saw a 10-year-old at Burger King. I'm in the line at Burger King. This 10-year-old was watching a porn video on YouTube on her iPhone 6. Sitting there watching. She's 10. And mom is on the phone just yapping, going away, you know, in line trying to order something.
So did you say something?
And I tapped on it. I said, excuse me. I said, do you know what your daughter is watching right now? And she always on that phone doing something. Ain't no telling her what she's watching. I said, you know she's watching porn right now. She's not watching no porn. I was like, she's watching porn. I'm looking at it.
Wow.
And okay, so she grabs it, smacks her, you know, at the back of the head a couple of times. You know, it's like, what I told you about this. So it's obviously happened before. And then she turned around and gave her the phone back.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
I mean.
That's a wow moment.
That is. I
mean,
mean,
that would have been a beat down moment.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't even have no phone after that.
I mean,
but again, I was never one of those parents who gave my kids phones when they were 7, 8,
Exactly.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If you don't have a job to pay for that cell phone bill, guess what? I know where you are. You're in school,
Exactly.
you're at sports, or you're at home. So you don't need, and if it's an emergency, the school's gonna call me.
It was a different culture then. So it's different culture because you had a village.
Well-
and all parents knew what time were you supposed to be home.
Exactly. You got
What time?
Before the street light.
Before the street light.
Came on.
So,
Yes.
but now you see kids 13, 14 years
But I
old walking
still don't
around
think
9,
you
10 o'clock at
answered
night.
our question of why are men so different now, and you're saying it's just the breakdown of the village. Is that your answer?
I'm saying that's
That's
where
fine,
it began at, and now it's perpetuated by everything else that's around us.
So-
Now a guy can go to a strip club and see what he used to dream about seeing when he got married. He can just pay for that. I mean, it's all over the
I
place.
think strip
You can
clubs were always around.
They were always there, but they were also taboo too. I mean, as men snuck to the strip clubs. They weren't taking their wives and girlfriends and boos and bays, significant other to the strip club.
Well, that's
like they do
true.
now.
This is
Yeah,
true.
know,
that is true.
Sex
Nowadays,
has become so ingrained in our society that we're okay with 13-year-old stars. Well, Michael Jackson. Was Michael Jackson allowed to sing about sex when he was part of the Jackson 5? No.
No.
He didn't start singing about sex until he was an adult.
Right.
But now we have 13-year-old girls that are put on stage in clothes that are meant for grown women, vixens, mind you, and allow them to sing about sex and doing all kinds of dirty,
Which is
nasty
all
stuff and
bad.
grabbing
I
and
mean,
twerking.
that's parenting. I mean, that goes back to parenting, which goes back to the village, because you don't have to be a part of the industry that is perpetuating sex and everything. But that shows where people's morals are. They're about
I
the
agree.
almighty dollar.
I agree.
But as a black man, how do you get other black men and other men of all races to say, we've got to take back our kids? Because if you don't take back the men, then there is no such thing as family.
So
Would you agree with that statement?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So you take, what's the age-old adage is you want to be around successful, if you want to be successful, be around successful people.
Okay.
So if you want to raise your kids right, then you need to bring your kids around other kids that are being raised right.
Mm-hmm.
What did your parents ask you when you grew up? You said you had a guy you wanted to date. What's his name?
What's his last name? What's his last name?
What's
Who's
his mom's name?
parents?
What's that? Who's his people?
Right.
Because they wanted to know if this child was being brought up right, if they
Right.
had the right type of, teachings, morals, and ethics instilled in them from day one. And if that child was considered wild or wayward, or his family was into a whole bunch of stuff, they
Yeah.
say,
You
don't
couldn't
bring,
hang- you
don't you
couldn't
bring
hang
him
out.
around my house. Don't go. No, you
Right.
can't go stay over at her house or his house and this and that. So I bring my kids around positive people. I bring my kids around people who are active in their children's lives, who do things with them to give them those examples, to set that
so
precedent.
basically what you're saying is the reason why men are so different in this day and age is because of the shift in the upbringing nowadays, and how family life and familyhood is not a village, it's not accountability, it's only, it's pretty much self. I gotta take care of this because I have to do this. So basically what you're saying is because of that institution of the family, men, they have shifted their focus, and not in a good way. Which is why there's so many broken relationships and homes.
Most definitely.
And as much as all the information that you're providing to us about the home environment, the village and everything, so-and-so, such and such, you still not answering the question.
Beating around that bush.
Beating around that bush. Why men are so annoying. They've changed
Okay.
They're not men anymore.
Well, I've answered why they're
Little
not
boys.
men.
Okay.
Why they're annoying is just the end result of that. They're annoying because they have no home training. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to approach a woman or talk to a woman. They don't know how to present themselves. They don't carry themselves well. And if you're a woman that requires a man that comes from that upper echelon, it's going to bother you. If you're a little hood rat or something like that, or a thought, then that's cool to you. You think that that's okay, but for the women who want more, when you come half-assing it, they're going to be annoyed.
Let me give you an example. I was dating this guy who shall remain nameless.
Todd.
I was dating this guy. Now, we pretty much had the same thing going on. We worked in the same industry, got our kids are the same age. All three of our kids, we both had 2 boys and a girl. All of it the same age, we're the same age, doing the same thing. After work, you get home, you're sharing your day. Now, he would go on for hours about himself. And then I would proceed to speak about myself. And the first thing that came to his mind is that I was measuring my balls with him, because I mean, the only thing I can get out of it is that he was an inferior to a strong woman just as himself, who can do the same thing, if not more and better, and he wanted to be the center of attention all the time. I didn't understand that. Our relationship ended because he didn't know how to share the limelight. He didn't know how to share being strong. He didn't know how to appreciate that if all chips fell down, he had somebody who can get on top of things, get things done, and be just as woo wow as he can without a blink of an eye.
Okay. Now, when you talk to him, would you speak to him in that fashion? This.
No,
But-
I wouldn't.
So,
And what if she did?
because perception is incredibly powerful.
Okay.
And so how she perceived their discussions going and how he perceived the discussions going could be 2 totally different things. Now, it's not to say in any way, shape, or form that she is not telling the truth. But when a person tells you something that's really exciting that's going on with them, let's say you come home, you tell me about your day first, and you go on and all this other stuff, and I'm like, that's great. Maybe my stuff is pretty exciting too, but if what I did outdid hers, would she perceive that as competition? Could she perceive that as competition? Could she perceive that as me trying to outdo her? What is my attitude or my posture when I do that? It's all about presentation.
It's all about insecurity to me. That's what it's all about to me, because if after you spent 20 minutes spilling your day and I'm like, oh, wow, great job, high five. Well, let me tell you what happened. And
is that how it went?
you know,
Is that how it went?
yes,
Because
that's how it went. I mean, I'm gonna high five you all day. If you're doing a great job, I'm
That
gonna
sounds
high
like-
five you
That
all
sounds like what?
day.
It sounds like okay. Now that you're done, check this out. And what we don't understand is that what is communication? Is communication me telling you, hey, I really would appreciate it if you would make up the bed when you get out of it in the morning, since you're the last one out of the bed. Did I communicate with her?
You did.
I did not communicate with her.
That's not communication.
No, that is not
communication.
communication. That is not communication. I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you why it's not communication.
Why? Fool me.
Because we think that we can just speak something, and that there is immediately supposed to be some movement of the earth, and it's not the case. No, here's communication. Communication is me telling you what it is that I have an issue with, or just informing you of something. You acknowledging that you received that, and you giving me something back. Because I can say, hey, babe, pick up some bread from the store when you go to the store. And you could be looking me dead in the face when you walk out the door and come back with no bread. And I can say, I communicated that to you. No, I just said it. Whether or not you received it, whether or not you acknowledged it, whether or not it was here for you
And
to
then
get
that
it.
goes back
Where
to
was-
my next
Okay.
Where was your mind when
They
I said go
don't
get the bread?
listen.
Where was your mind at? Because you could have been,
So
you could have been
if you
thinking
don't-
about an argument you had with her. You could have been thinking about
So
work.
if you don't pay attention,
If you don't
and
pay
yet
attention.
you're nodding in a sense, I'm taking it as consent that we have an agreement, which to me is communication.
But-
And now you're telling me
but-
that we
what you-
really didn't communicate
but what you
because you
assume-
just nod your head for
But
no
when it's-
damn reason.
Silence
But
is
that,
a
but
form
that
of
was,
agreement,
but
though.
that was not communication. That was not communication. The
So
fact
let
that
me
you
ask you-
assumed that the fact that you thought it was perceived
It's
as
not
that.
an assumption if you're saying,
So let me
okay.
ask this question. If silence is not a form of an agreement,
You ever been
Is-
pissed off when you
is-
just get quiet?
is
Yes.
yes.
Did you agree with what just happened that made you mad?
Did I agree?
Yeah. Were you in agreement with? Were you in agreement with the
No,
action
I
that
said
took
how
place
I
that upset
felt
you?
first and then was silent.
Right. I'm like, We don't want to go there right now. I don't have an answer for you because I'm so mad you're not going to like what I have to say. Give me some time to let this marinate and we can reconvene.
No words. Form in the book, no words. Sometimes you communicate things without saying things.
Yes, you can.
Your husband knows
Nonverbal.
when you get into that space where you just a little ticked off to like leave you alone to not say anything, right? Right? She can't. Yes, exactly. So exactly. So silence doesn't always mean in agreement. Silence may mean that you don't have anything to say. Silence may mean they're stumped. They're trying to figure it out, trying to process it. Silence can mean so many different things.
We're going to take the process, the information. Question.
We're not trying to process. The deal is you asked a question, and when I gave you an answer, you didn't like the answer I gave you.
So, okay. No. Silence is not an answer. You're saying silence is not an answer. It's not agreement.
It's not.
It's not communication.
You can't make silence any one of them. You can't say silence means this. Silence doesn't mean one thing. Silence can be anything, and if it can be anything, you can't assume. You have to clarify. That's what I'm saying.
If I'm talking to somebody and they're looking me in my face, not speaking, not in their head, you know, giving me all the body language and cues
and nonverbal agreement,
processing what I'm saying, and then they still act like they didn't know what I said. Now that'll piss me off quick.
I've been looking upside your head since you started talking. I don't remember the first sentence you said just now. And that's the thing. We can't recall everything that is said. So we pause. Why do we pause? We pause to allow the person time to give that acknowledgement.
How much time do you need?
Well, you've been on the phone, you're talking, you said, are you there? Are you listening? And he said, yeah, I'm listening.
So it's just a God thing. Y'all can't keep up. Just say you can't keep up from get-go. And then we won't have this miscommunication of non-verbal.
I will concede that most men can't keep up.
Okay.
I can.
We can discuss this
and I have
all
a pad,
day.
by the way, so I write down so that we can go back and cover everything.
I can go at this all night. At the end
Let's
of
keep
the
going.
day,
I want to keep going.
relationships.
I got all evening.
Man.
I cleared my schedule.
Wrong topic.
I cleared my schedule.
Good topic. And I'm
We're
so
going to
glad
have to bring
that
Midas Touch back.
Exactly.
Because he still ain't even hit the nail on the head about why men are so weak
and we're going to get that question
because
out of
you want a one sentence answer.
www.illusions.com. Make sure you subscribe and buy.
I want the truth.
Shawn Bayonne, Midas Touch will be in the August issue. Make sure you pick you up your pay for your advance copy. August 1st it drops. He's in the building. More to come with Illusions magazine.